Alright, hello everyone and welcome to Call Sign Trolley Models. It is day 2 of the Jayhawk MH-60J build that we're doing and converting it over to a MH-60J or T. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet. But in the last part we got a lot of the flight deck done and prepped and ready to go. And we got the seats done right here. Caveat to that. I was talking to one of my buddies and I was talking about these seats on this kit, and he did a quick search on eBay and he was able to find some 3D printed seats from Metallic Details. So I went ahead and I ordered those. So these seats, which as you know in the previous video were an absolute nightmare to build, so really looking forward to getting into those. Now for this video, my goal is to finish this whole page of steps right here. We're going to get done with this Avionics shelf right here and here. Then we're going to get the front dashboard ready to go with for the Quintus Studio stuff. We're going to get the nose section done and the firewall done, and then hopefully finish off the video with the bulkhead for the flight deck right here with the overhead instrument panel or control panel and all that. So that's the goal for today, hopefully. So that way next week when we start this, when I get the seats in, we can start painting all the interior bits, because I'm just going to do the roof, which is a basic roof right here. We don't have to worry about all the guns in this piece, and then we're going to get the walls and everything. So once we get to the walls where we have everything ready for the interior set, that's when we're going to paint. We also do have some scratch building to do. Actually, it looks like the radio's already here, but I do want to do a scratch build of a heart monitor and some bags and such. I think I might be digging around in my spares to see if I have any 135th backpacks or anything like that to throw into this kit for med kits. So that's where we're at right now. I already got the sprues separated for HH, HE, and the PE already right here. One thing about the PE is I could not find my cutting tile anywhere. It might be down the basement, but I doubt that. So for this, actually I'm going to go down and look for that tile real quick. I think it actually might be down there in the photo booth. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so I was able to find my cutting tile for the photo etch. So we're going to be using that here in just a minute. But first we're going to go ahead and start with part 5 and getting all of this stuff ready to go. So we need, trying to figure out how we're going to start this. We're going to go ahead with these parts right here from HH 44 and 42 and 25. Get those already, because that is the bottom base for the avionics shelf. So going right here, start off with HH 25. So if you notice, I got a new mat for the camera area or the work area. Hopefully that's going to help, number one, with cleanliness of the shot area, and also being able to see the gray over the black should also make it a lot easier. I also got a new light, so I'm hoping that this solves my lighting issue, because a lot of the other videos I did, they were too dark. I tried finding the light, the correct light for this has absolutely been a headache for this. Trying to get that all situated, and so hopefully now I got that figured out. The other thing I have coming is a new microphone. So I know sound quality right now, I'm just using the microphone that's in the camera that I use. So hopefully with this new microphone, it will help improve the sound quality of the videos and remove some of the clicking and clanking that you hear in some of the videos. That's because the jig is shaking. My workbench is not a permanent workbench. I'm waiting until I buy a house and move for one last time before I build a workbench. My workbenches right now are just some folding tables from Walmart. I just found that a lot easier to go with that route when I was in the Coast Guard and moving around versus having to build a whole new workbench every single move, which, as you know, in the military you move around a lot. So I think with the folding tables that was just easier route. It's a lot easier to go buy a $30 or $40 folding table if the folding tables don't fit in the room that you're using. I'm trying to get this to line up. There we go. Than it is to build a whole new custom workbench. So hopefully in the next couple years I will be able to buy a house and have a final professional level workbench. That's one goal that I have for modeling and everything else. So the fit on this piece is absolutely horrid. We're going to let that set and dry for a little bit before we glue it onto here. So, alright, so we got that all ready, and we also got to do some cleanup on that one as well. Working on another shelf right now, and again, molding issues with this Jayhawk kit. We got this part that's partially broken. This is supposed to be a flat shelf, but it's not. I'm going to try bending this back to where it's supposed to be, and then we'll glue these two parts together. I have a feeling this build is going to fight me a lot, but I'm gonna beat it. I very rarely quit on kits. I think I've only quit on maybe 3 or 4 kits the entire time I've been building. But this is not going to be one. Just waiting for this glue to dry. I think we're gonna have to go with the nuclear option on this. Use some super glue. It's even super glue's not working on this. So, got it to almost an acceptable point. Once we get it glued into the rack, I think that's going to help straighten it out right there. Next up we need, so moving on, we need part HE63. That's going to be the top of that box. There again. Ejector pin nubs all over the place on this kit as well. And really bad fit. Alright, so let's try it now. Alright, so I think we're going to use the squish method. We're going to get glue in around here. Wait for it to melt a little bit so we can just wedge it into place. Okay, let's grab these tweezers. These will be better. Alright, so we need to let that dry so we can sand a couple parts. Now this part should be dry enough so we can sand it and fix the issues on this one. Alright, so now we throw this onto this box. Trying to get the orientation right. Looks like it goes this way. A little bit of flash on here. Clean up with our fingernail. Alright, so we got that, and then there's a connection point right there. So we get this lined up, hopefully. There we go. And get this glue in. Just get some glue in there so we can kind of tack it, and then we can adjust it where needed. Alright, so that one is done and ready. We'll go ahead and get the two rails ready. So HH45 and 46. 45 goes onto. And this one is broken too. At least it's not bent, so it's an easier fix. Need to clean up. Alright, so now we're going to start gluing in this rack right here. So we're going to add some glue. Okay. So up next we're going to be adding this piece. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more. Alright, so now we're adding in the next shelf. And it has these locator tabs right here. I'm not sure on how this is supposed to go. So I know. Alright, so Get this glued in, maybe. Alright, next step. We're going to take this, we're going to soften it up. Then we're going to bend it down. Hopefully it'll stay. Cut that for now because I think that was one of the issues why we were having it wasn't going straight. So we're going to try doing it like so. Okay, so that one is in. Alright, so we're going to put those off to the side for a minute because we have some photo etch to bend. First we have PE-37. I can't tell if there's two of them. The instructions here are very vague. So we have this rack right here going into this piece. It shows one on top, or one on bottom and one on top. So again, just vague as hell on the construction of this. So let's see if there's two of these PE-37s first. So we got PE-37 and PE-38. Okay, yeah, PE-38 is listed on the top right there. So let's go ahead and get the 37 cut off. So I got my tile. Yes, I have a very big tile, and the reason why I did get the larger tile, even though it's not really needed for a lot of the photo etch, I got the larger one because of like the B17 flaps and sets like that where the flaps are very large and would not fit on a regular tile. So that is why I got one of these tiles, and it was only $1 something at Lowe's, so it's not like it broke the bank or anything on that. So alright, up next we're gonna fold this photo etch, my bending tool, put that right in there, tighten it down. Do some repeat for the other side. Gonna keep that nearby because we're gonna need it again here in just a second. So we need HH1 and HH47. So 1, very easy to find, and then 47. Let that dry for a little bit, and then we're going to glue this in to the photo etch. Sit like that. Alright, so that's done. And we're going to wait for that super glue to dry for a little bit. And while we're getting ready for that, I think we're going to do a little bit of story time. Start going through some of the, as you know, if you haven't been part of the channel for a while, I retired from the Coast Guard about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And so I did 15 years in the Coast Guard and 5 years Navy. In the Coast Guard, I was a small boat driver for search and rescue and law enforcement. In the Navy, I was an aviation warfare systems operator, operating weapon systems and doing anti-submarine warfare and all that good stuff right there. So with the Coast Guard, I didn't get to fly around in the helicopters and do, search and rescue from the helicopters, but I did get to do search and rescue from the boats. And I do have some really good stories, some really funny ones. I'm not going to go into the bad stories because I don't like reliving those moments. But some of the funny ones, like the first one that I'm going to go through, is we got a call of a boat. It was a ghost boat just driving on its own, and nobody inside of it. So we go out to find the boat, and sure enough, the boat is just going just at a couple knots, 1 or 2 knots, which is about 1.5 miles, 2.5 miles, maybe 3 miles per hour. So when we find that boat with nobody on it, we have to start our search patterns for it. So we start our search pattern, and about 45 minutes later, we ended up finding 2 people in the water. We pull them out of the water, and they are nude. No clothes on. The only things that they had on were their life jackets, which ended up saving their lives. So the story behind this was that they went offshore a couple miles and decided that they wanted to go skinny dipping in the lake, in Lake Michigan. So they decided that they wanted to keep their boat in the same position. So they thought that they could put the trolling motor on, and it would stay in the same vicinity with the current. So they put the trolling motor on and proceeded to jump off the boat and go skinny dipping. And well, as you may know, the boat did not stay in the position and just kept on going, and they were not able to swim fast enough to catch up to it. So hence the ghost boat. But we did find them, and the motto to the story is life jackets save lives. So if you're out on a boat or anything, make sure that you are either wearing your life jacket or have your life jacket easily accessible, very quickly, able to don it quickly or put it on quickly, because I can't tell you how many times or how many boating safety inspections I was doing, or recreational boating safety inspections I would do, and people would have no idea where any of their safety gear was, and it would just baffle me about this. I had one guy look for a fire extinguisher for 20 minutes. I was like, by the time that you found your fire extinguisher, your entire boat is engulfed and you're in the water. So like I said, make sure you know where all your safety equipment is. Practice using it. Don't act like a fire extinguisher. You don't have to expel your fire extinguisher. Just make sure you know how to use it and all of that, because you can help prevent bad situations from getting worse or unattainable or unrecoverable if you just do some simple practice or know where your things are on that. Because when things go bad, especially on a boat, they tend to go bad very quickly. So just be prepared on that. There's a lot of steps that you can do to make life a lot easier on yourself, and if things are very bad, you can make things a lot easier on the Coast Guard, or if you're in an area that doesn't have the Coast Guard, make it a lot easier on the other search and rescue assets like the sheriff or the state police or DNR or any of those other agencies as well. So, but that was a happy ending to that story. Luckily we found them, got them back home, we got their boat, towed it back into shore, and they were able to have their boat. And I bet you they never used a trolling motor again to go skinny dipping on that. So that's one of my stories that I like to tell. I think it's a funny one, and also with a good lesson learned on that. A couple lessons learned on that is just okay. So back to the build. Now that this is getting dry enough, I got this top rack in, and now we need to glue in the other photo etch on here. So number 30, what was it, 38. So get the tile back out, and then we're gonna cut this one off. Break the photo etch bender back out and repeat from the last time. Alright, so that part is done. Now we get to glue this one in. We're just gonna glue the edges. Okay. Now we only have one more shelf for this rack, and that is MH-60J. Maybe. Oh, there it is. Alright, so this rack is done with the exception of a couple parts right here, HH58 and HE8. We're going to leave those off and paint those separately. That way I can get in and paint the box even though it's going to be blocked off by this this one piece. I still want to get it painted. So we're just going to leave those off and paint those separately. So we need HH58. Here. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to cut it off the spruce so the number is still there, just as a reminder, so after it's done painting I know which part I'm looking at. So that one's going to go into the shelf, and then we need HE8, which is right here. Alright, HE8. Alright, so that's an easy one. That's a fire bottle, so cut that one off, get this cleaned up. Alright, that one goes in the tub, and then this is ready to go in the tub as well for paint. So now we're moving on to another electronics shelf. We need to do PE39 right quick. We need to get that one ready, which is this whole case right here. So we're gonna cut this off. Little sneak connection point right there. There we go, got that one. So push that off to the side. We also have one other photo etch piece going on here, and that is PE36, which is this one right here. Okay. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to get HH66 ready to go. MH-66. So another large box right here. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and cut off HH8 while we're here. Get that done. Alright, so HH8 and 6 are done. Cut off, we just need a little bit of cleanup. Alright, so first what we're going to do is we are going to fold up two sides of this guy. We might do three sides. And we're going to turn this around. Now that we have the cage ready, we can pull in these sides. We're going to get the sides glued together. I'm gluing more of my finger to this piece than the pieces together. Alright, so next step. Next way that we're going to try to defeat this is we're just going to glue this piece in and then glue the railings onto that, and then we can use that as a base. So we need to find out Alright, so that mat wasn't going to stay forever, or perfect forever. Alright, but now, nope, doesn't matter. Now, start bending this one in. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was off camera when I was doing that. Trying to get this done. We're waiting for that to dry. Okay, so now we do this side. I am not a fan of photo etch. I never have been. I don't think I ever will be. Especially now with 3D printing, I honestly don't see a point for photo etch anymore. That's just my opinion. I think photo etch is a good thing for the past, but I think for ease of building and everything, and better detail, I think 3D printing is going to leave photo etch as obsolete here, hopefully in the near future. Because like I said, I am not a fan of photo etch at all. If I don't have to use it, most times I try not to. Unless, like for the B-17 flaps, the difference between what is provided in the kit and the photo etch is a lot better with the photo etch. But with that being said, you could do even better with 3D printing. But nobody has done 3D printed flaps for the B-17 yet. So, as of right now, that is the only option. Get the fuse on. So that's done. Now we need to add this piece. Alright, so that is all done. It's not Kathy Ireland pretty, but it is pretty. When it's all painted, and also this is going to be up against the cabin door that you can't really see on that side, so I think that's going to be a saving factor to this. But like I said, I'm not even close to a photo etch expert. I know I'm using way too much glue on here, and soldering would probably be the better option, but I don't have a soldering gun right now, so this is just gonna have to make do. Like I said, luckily, and I'll put a bag over some on top of it, kind of hide some of it. Alright, so that is done. Now we're moving on to step 7, where we are starting to get the front instrument panel ready to go. And we're going to have to sand all of the detail that's off on here, because we do have the 3D printed decal for it to replace that. And then we have a couple other pieces as well. Some more photo etch. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the dashboard cut off and start sanding that all down. Alright, so starting off with the instrument panel right here. So let's get this cut off, HF23. And luckily the detail on it is pretty soft. It should be fairly easy to sand down. Just cutting off some of the raised parts, the big raised parts on here. And now we are going to grab our coarse sander. And we're going to take care of all this detail. Alright, so that is good. Now let's grab the dashboard, HB, or the combing, which is right here. We're going to have some cleanup to do on this part. I mean, the detail on this part is actually really nice. With all the rivet detail, some raised and recessed detail as well. And you even have the cushion that goes around the edge of the instrument combing molded as well. So that is actually pretty nice, and should paint up and weather pretty decently. Alright, so that's done. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this part in. Just doing the base right now of glue, and then we're going to come in and glue it down more solid here in a second. Once I get it tacked into place, but it's not wanting to cooperate. So we're going to let that dry for a little bit. We do have a couple parts to add on the underside right here. F32. We need to dig those out. And this is sprue F, and we are probably, these might be the only parts from this whole sprue that we use, because a lot of this is dealing with the MH-60L, the Lima, and we don't have to worry about that. So F32, close, 32 right here. So we got to cut off 2 of these. Alright, so that's what I'm doing. Oh, no, okay. Alright, so I think for these small pieces we're going to use our Photo-etch bending tweezers right here. I'm just going to take it on there and then bend it up that way. Alright, so okay, that's the first one done. Okay, so instrument panel is done and ready for paint, and then after the paint we'll add the 3D printed decals. I believe there's 2 that go on here and then also on here as well. So that part is done. Now we're moving on to the front firewall right here. It's just 3 pieces. I'm not going to even glue this one on, so it's only 2 pieces. If you're going to leave the nose cone open, that would be nice, but I'm not worried about that because it's going to be closed up. So we need to get HB and HD screws. I already got those. There's a mislabel right here, so in the instructions it says HB, but I think this, okay, yeah, I had a D moment right there. So everything is right with the instructions on this part for once. Don't need the tile anymore today, or so far. We'll see how much farther we get. We might actually get farther than what my goal was today. So there are no alignment tabs on this. It's just all by line it up and glue it into place. There are no locator tabs for this, so just take your time in getting it lined up. Alright, that's one more piece done. Now we need HB again for the bulkhead or the frame. Alright, so first HF4 and HF3 are going to get cut off separately because those are going to be painted separately. And I'm going to leave the numbers on them so we can see what we're painting. Go. Boom. We'll glue those on after paint and everything. Make life a lot easier. So now we need HB11, which is this. And then we're going to also check, I think there might be a decal for this one. So we're going to check these 2 pieces for decals real quick before we glue it on. Okay, so pulling out the instructions for the decals. Alright, so yeah, we have a decal that goes on this piece right here, and then another decal that goes on this piece, and we're going to have some 3D printed handles to go into here, so we need to cut these off as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this sanded down and cleaned up. I will say the Jayhawk plastic is extremely soft, so it does sand off very easily when removing all this detail. This part in first. Okay, then we're going to sand off all the detail on this one. I think there's a piece that goes on the back side here. Alright, so this one is done. Actually, no, we have one more piece to add. That's E38. Yep, so right now we're adding in the rotor brake right here. Alright, so this is done. Alright, so when we do the photo or the 3D printed decals, you can see all the decals that are going to be going on the underside of there, along with the instrument panel, and then the decals that are going to be going onto the overhead on there. We still have a lot to do. We even have decals on that panel that we did earlier. We have decal for some of the parts going on in the back that we're getting ready to work on here shortly. So, up next, now that we're actually gotten farther than what I was anticipating today, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off the back frame right here. We have a piece of photo etch to add to the flight deck, and then we're going to get the roof cut off. Only a couple pieces to add on to that, and then that should be it. Hold on a second. Alright, so let's get HB. HB is, or this back bulkhead and the fire extinguisher are all just going to be cut off real quick. Basically everything on here. Alright, HB versus HB24. Alright, so my new goal for this video today is get all the kit parts done for the interior. That way on next week's video we can concentrate on scratch building some of the other stuff that's going to be going into here on that. So, and then after that part is done, we can start painting the interior. So we got the bulkhead or the aft bulkhead done. Now I need HE8 again, another fire extinguisher. Same thing as the last one, just need to do a little bit of cleanup on this. Okay, that's done. Alright, now we need to pull out the here because we have a photo etch piece to add on to it. Because I'm not bending it, I'm not going to worry about the tile for it. Just need PE25, which is this one. Second thought, nope, we are getting the tile out. Alright, that is back done. There we go. Alright, so next we need the bar HH28 to hang the seats. Now we're going to be using this a little bit different because on here it has us doing it on the back bulkhead. We get you on camera. So this piece right here, we're actually going to be moving it to over on the port side where the passenger seats would be, or the survivor seats would be. So we're going to leave that off for now, but we are going to cut it. We're going to paint it separately, and then we can go from there. 28. 28 right here. Alright, so that part's done. Alright, so now we need the overhead, which we need HB5 first. We got this one. This is the overhead. A lot of the parts in the instructions here we aren't going to be using, like HB2, or I'll show you here in a second once I get done sanding all of this off. We'll take a look at the instructions, because a lot of this parts that are or prescribed for this piece are not going to be used. So, like I was talking about, right here we have our fast rope part. Not going to worry about that on this one. We are going to add these two pieces on, and then this piece right here, and we're not going to be adding in this piece right here. Thinking that's a seat or something. Alright, maybe we'll add this one in, or not. We'll have to check it out. But alright, so we know for a fact that we are adding in HH5. Now let's get this on the proper orientation so we don't mess it up any. We're also going to have to fill in the holes for everything that we're not using. Alright, so we have the gunner's belts tie downs in. So when they're in flight and they have to walk around or do anything, they have to connect themselves to this gunner belt, which attaches to a few other places. But you have your two rings up here that will pretty much give you access to anywhere in the cabin right there. Alright, so now we need HB27. So let's screw HB. Page 2. Okay, so let's see how this part connects. Sorry about that. Okay, so the roof is done now. We're skipping all of these parts on this page. Right here. We're done with, don't have to worry about that. I could cut all that stuff out and just not have to worry about it anymore, but not going to do that. So now what we need to do is we have the two, or actually three pieces going on right here. We'll start off with the port side, HH20, right here. Alright, so now we need this one. And this is going to be the port side wall or interior of the Jayhawk, where we're going to have our medical bags and a few other parts, and our heart monitor up against this wall right here. We're going to attempt to build a heart monitor for this. I say attempt because don't have a lot of experience scratch building stuff, so we're gonna give it a whirl. You can't get better at something if you don't try it, or keep doing it. Same with figures and everything. Figures are probably one of my weak points in modeling, but I'm going to keep on working at it to get better at it. Just like anything you do, you don't start off an expert. Like I heard somebody say in one of the modeling podcasts, Plastic Posse podcast. I can't remember which episode or who it was that said it, but we're all on a journey in this hobby. Some people are farther along in that journey than others, but everybody has pretty much gone through the same journey, to say. No, not everybody has built the exact same models at the exact same time, but we've all dealt with the same, like, growing skills and doing that in the hobby. So just keep on going on in the journey and getting as good as we possibly can and improving skills slowly and surely over time. Alright, so now we need HH12 for this, which is the small radio piece, which we're also going to have to sand off because we have a decal that goes on top of that as well. So there we go, there it is. So luckily I don't have to scratch build this piece on there, because this is the radio I was talking about that the AST or the rescue swimmer operates back in the back. I am going to add some lead wire for comm cords that will be hanging around in the deck and on the flight deck as well, in the cockpit. So we're going to be doing all that just to add a little bit of busyness to this. Alright, so there we go on there. That piece is done. Not much to it right now. Like I said, we're going to have the heart monitor. We're going to have, when it's all built, we're going to have the survivor seats over here. I'm going to have a P6 pump right here. That's a dewatering pump. And then the Stokes litter and a bunch of other things going on. We're also going to have headsets, because all the survivors put on headsets as hearing protection when they're in the aircraft. So that's what we're going to be adding to there. And now we have the starboard side of the interior to add. So we need, let's see, we need sprue HF42, right? HF. Alright, so HF42, and we have the Flight Mechs joystick for controlling the hoist, which we're going to paint that separately. That's right here. Very small piece. cut that off. We're going to leave that in the bin for now. We'll paint that separately. And then the only thing that we have left to do on here is to attach the grab handle. But before I do that, I'm going to do the cleanup on the sides. Alright, so and then on this side, we'll have a grab handle to add in, which is HE6. So we need to find HE screw, which is right here. Actually, we're going to need 2 of these, so right here, cut this off. And then we're going to go ahead and glue this into place. Alright, so that one is done. And now we just need HF62, which is the other bulkhead, which is this one. Not much to it, but a lot of this is going to be covered up with those avionics and electronics boxes and some stowage gear that's going to be going in front of that as well. So alright, so a little pop quiz also for the end of the video, because we are almost actually done with this one. Quiz is, can someone tell me what is the max number of, or max recommended number of survivors that the Jayhawk can carry? And then, what is the max number of survivors that the Jayhawk has ever had? I'll give you a hint, it came from Hurricane Katrina. So, that's the quiz for today's video. And on the next part, we'll have the answer to those next week. So, just adding a little bit more fun to the videos, hopefully. Give you a chance to go find that out. Alright, now that part's done, and all the kit parts for the interior are all done. Now what we're going to be doing in the next part is we're going to be doing some scratch building. Like I said, I want to get the heart monitor built. I do have the Stokes slitter that we need to, that is 3D printed, that we need to get out and prep and get that all ready to go as well. And then I want to do some digging in some of my spare parts boxes to see if I have some parts that I can make up as a P6 pump, some survival bags, or some gear bags and stuff to throw into the back of this as well, to kind of liven up the cabin, because I do want to have the cabin door open, and I'm thinking I'm going to have one pilot door open on this and then the other side closed. So I think that's where we're going with this. So far, I mean, the kit, there are some fit issues, some slight fit issues, but you can work around them. Not too bad yet. I'm going to say yet. I don't know. I'm really wondering what's going to happen when we try to get these fuselage halves together. From previous builds I've dealt with, I do know that it has been an issue with some of the previous ones I've built right there. So, but yeah, so we're going to get all this, or the scratch building, done on the next step, and then hopefully we can start getting primer and everything done on the interior. So that's going to do it for part 2, or day 2 of the Jayhawk video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys next week. If you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below. The comments and the subscriptions and the likes really help the algorithm, so help me out there. Subscribing is free. I don't do Patreon or anything like that, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you guys next week for the the MH-60J or T Jayhawk, or anytime throughout the week on any of my other builds. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. All right.